Yeah, 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 Urko. Hey, 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 hey. Look.
Yeah, what's going on? I go by the name of Steph Urko, and welcome back to another episode of the Millennial Dungeon. How's everybody doing this beautiful weekend? I know I got some things done. I hope you did the same. Be productive, y'all. Today's episode, we got a returning guest. Goes by the name of Matt. What's going on, man?
Doing well, man. How you doing?
I'm kicking it like a donkey, but staying funky, man. I appreciate you coming back.
Thank you for having me, man. It's good to be back. Glad to be back here.
No problem, man. So, we can just jump right into it. So, a few weeks ago in St. Louis, there was a shooting at a high school by a 19-year-old by the name of Orlando Harris. He graduated from that high school a year prior, and he came back to that previous high school with an AR-15, and he killed two people and injured several other students. And he had a shootout with the cops in the aftermath, and he died. And on his body, they said they found a handwritten note that said basically just a brief summary of it, saying he had no friends, never had a girlfriend, he never had a real social life, and he said this was like basically like a day of reckoning. Like this was something that had to happen. And obviously, these last like 10, 15 years, you hear about mass shootings and stuff like that, and like it's even a whole thing about banning guns and all that stuff. But I want to take it from a different approach. Obviously, talk about mental health because I know you have an expertise in that, or you have some knowledge in that. Because I want to look at it as when we think about mass shootings, we think about just from a thing of they're crazy and there's something wrong with them, obviously. But like, is it a deeper meaning to it? Like, what do you think when you first heard the story? Like, did you think deeper into it, or do you think, or just dismiss it as, it's just another mass shooting?
Oh no, it's always a deeper level to it. Of course there are cases where, somebody might literally have something in their mind that might not click all the way, but I
Mm.
think, what he wrote, like what you said earlier, is an indication that this was something that had a specific reason to it, and that was something that was uh, sort of gradual. That's something that sort of wore him down over the years. This fact that he didn't really seem to have uh, a tight social network with him. He didn't seem to have like a community around him that um, would have been there to bear the burdens that he needed. And because of that, he sort of grew resentment, anger, spite, and was driven to do what he did. But yeah, I don't. There's always a deeper meaning behind what anybody does, good or bad. And I think this was a clear example of that, as seen through that note that he left. That this was um, something that happened out of resentment and really hopelessness. I think like those two things, like an anger and a vengeance, but also like a dead end hopelessness that sadly overtook him and drove him to do what he did. But yeah, as you said, like these things can't just be dismissed as somebody being violent, crazy, insane, because quite frankly, anybody's liable to do any number of things if the right circumstances fall upon them. So we shouldn't be dismissive to these types of things, but we should learn to see what it was that drove them to do the things that they did, and work on amending those things before another case like this happens. But yeah.
Right. I completely agree. And something that stuck out about this story is obviously the note for me when it said
Right.
like he never had a social life, never had a girlfriend before. He this was something that had to happen. Like no one ever wanted to be his friend. So in this a lot of times when it comes to these mass shootings, especially like these teenagers in high schools and stuff like that, a lot of times because like they're not social. I hate to say it like that. It's just like a lot of times these kids don't really have like you said a good circle around them or like a
Yeah.
good a friend group to like really like help them get through this stuff.
Right.
Because obviously we if you have a good circle around you, you have friends to like consult with about things like this if something's going on in your head. But he had none of that, so it's like he had all that bottled up inside of him, and just obviously he just snapped. And the reason
Yeah.
why I want to like touch on this stuff is because like a lot of times when we think of like I don't know, like when we think about getting things done in life, it's all from a point of, oh, I can do it myself. All I got is
Yeah,
me. You know, I don't need anybody to do things. But the truth is like everybody needs somebody. You know what
that's
I'm
right.
saying? Somebody told me a while ago that it's a quote that still sticks out to me. Life is a team sport.
Hmm.
You know, so it's like you can't go through life doing everything by yourself. No human is technically really supposed to be alone. Humans
That's
are
right.
not supposed to be alone in life. You know, so like
Yeah,
when I hear about things like this, it's like, and I hear people say things like, "Oh, all I got is myself, and I can do everything by myself," or "I got it out the mud and got where I'm at today by myself." No, you didn't. Everybody needs help. Everybody needs consulting. You know, everybody
yeah,
needs that circle that like help them get through certain things. Because if you go through death or trauma in life, you're not going to be able to get through that healthily by yourself.
that's right.
So I want to ask you like because obviously when we see like mass shootings and stuff, obviously it's by like a lot of men. So my question is, why do you think men, especially in our society today, feel like we have to carry that burden on our shoulders when it comes to doing everything on our own or not being able to express ourselves to other people around us?
That's a good question. Um, I think what I would go to is, I think we can sort of try to overcompensate for what our natural role is supposed to be.
Hmm.
Like, obviously, there is a sense of not independence, but there is a degree of being a protector and being, like to be a man is to be someone who does take the brunt of blows. I think we spoke about this last episode in regards to the family unit and how a father, that is his role to some degree, like to be the first line of defense to his family, to be the one that is the protector, the provider, and things like that. But that can easily get to our heads to the point where it feels like, okay, well, to take that to the extreme means I'm supposed to be a lone wolf through and through, and that's just not the case. As a Christian, I'm reminded of the Bible verse that I looked up before we spoke about this. Well, before this episode, because again, I saw like how he highlighted the fact that he didn't have, a social life or a social network that he desired to have. Galatians 6:2, which is speaking directly to what we're speaking about now. It says, bear one another's burdens and so fulfill the law of Christ. And what it was is basically a letter to a church, basically explaining how, even as the body of Christ, even as a church, it's a priority for people to be together, for people to bear one another's burdens. Literally, for you to, if you see me struggling, to reach out and not just, assume that I'm able to carry the cross that I'm bearing. Even in the story of Jesus dying on the cross, when he was carrying his cross, he had a man, help him with it. I think his name was Peter of Cyrene or something. But the main point is that as men, we can kind of get into this mindset of, you know, being the leader or the protector or the, just the first line of defense in a family, which is our natural role. And we can sadly, take it too far. And there needs to be a balance between those two, because it's not just the man, like the man needs a woman needs a man. So um, and as men, we need other men around us in the same way women need other women around them. So, um, yeah, I think for things like this to, again, stop happening, we need to understand there needs to be a balance between, how much of our walk as a man is in that natural role of, being a leader, being a protector and a guider, and also being in that same vein, someone who is working with, you know, a unit, and to understand that those two go hand in hand. That, it's not one exclusively without the other. That the natural role of a man is to work together. And yeah. And just one more thing, I'm so glad that you said it's important to have a good circle around you,
Hmm.
because I think something that's just as damaging as having no circle is a bad circle.
Yeah.
So it's good that we, and that you highlighted the fact that it's good to have a good circle around you, because just in the same way, having no one around you at all can be quite damaging to your mental health and to your outlook on life and, your spirit and your heart. Having a bad circle can be just as or even more damaging, because now you have actual, influences of other people from a negative perspective feeding directly into you. So, yeah, it's important that we not only have a circle around us, but that it's the right one, that it, fits the criteria of a circle that is feeding us positive, uh, you know, a positive input of energy, um, and just things of that nature. But yeah.
Right. Facts. And I like how you bring up the term like lone wolf, because like
Yeah.
in society, I feel like, especially like in the media, like when you watch like TV shows or like action like movies and stuff like that, when you see like the main character he's like seen as the lone wolf or like
Yeah.
the hero and stuff, like you never see him with anybody else. Like the lone wolf is supposed to be like the quote unquote badass or the quote unquote he's the coolest character in the thing, whereas like
Right.
every burden he has or everything he does by himself. He doesn't need anybody to be able to do the mission or save the day. It's just him. It's just him. You get what I'm
Right.
saying? And I feel
Right.
like men, we've been taught that we had to carry certain burdens by ourselves because we think that that's what makes a real man. Somebody that doesn't express themselves. Somebody that is able to do things all by themselves, which everybody feels good at to a certain extent. Being able to say, "Oh yeah, I did that by myself." But
Mhm.
like I said before, humans are not supposed to be alone. And I
Yeah.
also like what you said before about like how as women are, they have certain circles around them to like there to comfort them. Like I talk to this about my other friends too. When I see like females and stuff, like if something's wrong with a female or they have a problem, they go to their friends and they females or women are good at uplifting each other. That's one thing I see about a lot of women. They're like, oh, it's okay. Oh, you get through it. Or no, they were wrong in the situation. You were right in something like that. Or if they're going through some kind of traumatic situation, they're there to get uplifted in their spirits. Whereas though as men, I feel as though we don't really see that amongst other men. Is if we're going through a problem, it's said to get up, scrape your scrape the dirt off your shoulders or your knees, and just work through it. You know what I'm saying? Like stop crying about it. Why are you being so soft? You know what I'm saying? Don't act weak. You know. So I feel like that's one of the reasons why men don't express ourselves to other men around us. Or if we somebody asks you a question, yeah, you good, man? Yeah, I'm all right, man. I'm just going through something, and just leave it at that instead of just opening up more to it. Because, like I said before, like burdens are meant to be carried on one shoulder. You know what I'm saying? But I have a question. So, what is? Have you ever been to a situation where you felt like you had to carry it by yourself, but didn't want to express to anybody else?
Oh man. Yes. Specifically in regards to, I would say, the balance between school and work. How that can be something that very quickly and very easily becomes, pretty stressful, and feeling like, well, I don't, again, like just that mentality of, oh, I can do it. I got it. I don't need to talk to anybody about it. I can, face it on my own, just, take it on the chin. But like you said, there's only so much you can take before it's like you're forced to realize, okay, I need somebody to spot me. I think that's a good example of this dynamic we're talking about. Like, even the masculinist of men when they're in the gym, like bench pressing, they have a spotter. And it's like the same should be applied to our, everyday life. We need spotters. We need mentors. We need friends that we know are gonna, lift that weight up when it's too much for us. And so yeah, I would say that would be an example of a time where I felt like I just could take it on the chin and do it by myself, balancing school and work. And I had to realize, like, okay, I need to talk to someone about this, and try to get some help on how I can better adjust schedule or time management, just some better practical ways for me to go about this. So I'm not, just trying to take it on the chin every day and actually get some help, actually get the spotting I need. Um, but yeah, and there can be other little moments, just day to day moments where it's like, I could have asked for help with something instead of just trying to do it by myself.
Yeah,
But that's one major one that comes to mind, definitely.
yeah. I've definitely dealt with situations like that where, especially with school or work or something, like where I feel like I had to carry that burden and I didn't want to hassle anybody else about helping me because I feel like, like I didn't want to see him. Oh, damn, he can't do nothing by himself, or he's weak.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Like, and a part of it too is I feel like as men, we're like, if we want to fit that quote unquote role as being like super masculine, like
mhm.
being able to do everything by yourself or being 100% independent is like is perceived as the ultimate masculine man. And like
Yeah,
as men, we want to take all the glory for ourselves. Or
yeah,
like I look at it like in sports too. Like one of my favorite quotes in sports is "teamwork make the dream work." You
right.
know, as good as a player you are on that team, you can score 50 points on the team, but still lose the game.
Yeah,
You get what I'm saying? So it's
yeah,
like being able to do everything by yourself does not mean that it's a good thing all the time. You know,
right.
I feel like a lot that pressure is like pushed on us more because as men we're told that we have to be strong, especially for our families and the people that we love. We can't show like a hint of like emotion because
Yeah,
we're told that we it's like you said before, we gotta take the brunt of everything that comes towards our family. We have to
that's
be that line of defense.
yeah,
So I feel as though I've been through that plenty of times where as though I had to carry that burden by myself and I didn't want to hassle anybody. And plus, this is going to sound weird to say, but this is me personally. I feel like a
hmm,
lot of men aren't used to people actually genuinely caring about our needs and
yeah,
feelings,
yeah,
especially like when it comes like people outside of our family or like our close on friend group. Like
yeah,
I feel like when it comes to men going through traumatic situations, I feel like a lot of men aren't used to people actually like coming to us and be like, "Are you okay?" and actually mean it without it
yeah,
being some kind of motive or be like, "Okay, if I do this, what can I get out of him? Is he going to do this
right.
for me?" So
Yeah,
like no one's really genuine for us, unless it's somebody in your family. So
mhm,
I think that's a part of it why a lot of men try to keep that like pushed down or kind of keep those emotions like wrapped up tight. So
right.
one of my next questions is, do you have any advice for people that feel as though they can't go to like their certain like people in their family or don't have that close friend group to network with?
Yeah. I would say honestly, for me, just in my own personal experience, again, as a Christian,
Mm,
the church is a great place to go because that's where, um, people that are broken, that need help, that need that support, can go where they can get, an open shoulder to cry on. That's where, people can come to get the support that they need. So I would say if you can't find it in your family, you can't find it in your friend group, you know, like literally go to a local church. Like you'd be surprised on how willing and how open a lot of people in the church are to hearing your problems. And I think again, even with that and saying this now, I'm realizing like there's just a lot of stigmas out there in general. Like the stigma of the church being a place, where it's strictly about money, or there's some degree of like it's just about us and we're not caring to anybody else.
yeah,
Um, like don't let that stereotype block you or buffet you from finding a church that is genuine, and honest and holding true to the model of what a church should be, and getting the help that you need. There's a lot of great churches out here that have pastors and church leaders that specifically, are in the service of listening to people and giving them counsel. So I would say that's if you really can't find it in your family and in your friends, and you might find, a family member or friend that you want to talk to, but still just want another person to counsel you. I would say really find a church home that can support you and yeah, mentor you. I know it's helped me a lot. again, to be in a church body, have people pray for you. That's another thing. People praying for you and just caring about you. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I would say. And again, there's obviously like a professional therapist, a professional counselor is another option. But yeah, those are some ways that we can find help.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I think the church is a great place to start as well because
yeah,
I feel like, and I do understand like the stigma of like a church nowadays being seen as a negative thing, or the church, all they do is judge you there, all they do is care about getting money, trying to take
mhm,
money. That's not true about every church you don't hear people. You know, it's
yeah,
a lot of genuine people at church that go there to that actually care and try to practice their religion there. And when they see people on sharing their stories, they actually want to truly help because
that's right.
they're trying to be good Christians. You know,
Yeah,
and it's like you said before too. It's like therapy is a great place to start too. You know,
yeah, it is.
because
Yeah,
like a lot, and I know a lot of people like have this kind of stigma about therapy as well, thinking like these people they get paid to listen to me. They don't actually care about me because they got other patients that they take care of too. But like sometimes when you have a problem, it's just good to talk about it. You know,
yeah,
like even with me, like if I'm having something that's bothering me for days, like somebody that I don't even know, like somebody, if I'm talking to somebody like on the phone or somebody at my job, I'm explaining the problem. It just feels good to just to get it out instead of just keep it bottled in. And I feel
yeah,
like a lot of people just keep things bottled in and then wonder why when somebody tests them the wrong way, they end up snapping. Because all
hmm,
those bottled emotions, you're not supposed to have bottled up or cooped up in you. Like
right.
as human beings, we're supposed to be expressive. We're not supposed to like coop everything up and just hope to solve everything in our mind. We're supposed to express ourselves. So I think therapy is a great place to just get some things off your chest. And even if I'm not saying that you're going to go to one session and all your problems are going to go away, but like going to a good therapist, I say a good one, it sometimes can be helpful because they can like help you like get through those certain situations or give you little coping mechanisms to get through. So
That's right. Yeah,
that's my advice. So that's all I had about it because I feel as though this is a topic that a lot of people need to hear about because it doesn't get talked about enough. I feel because we
yeah,
hear all the time about mass shootings now. That it's like trending, like it's a new norm, which is sad to say. But
yeah,
we don't really talk about the real backstory about like, is it are these people actually like are these people actually getting the help they should before it ends up going south? You know, are these people
yeah.
really around people that actually care about them to help them through certain situations so they don't turn to mass shooters? So I just want to get that off.
And I would say, like, even on the other side, I know for the majority of this episode, we were talking about, the person themselves that might be going or feeling these feelings of isolation, of abandonment, like they, don't have any hope. But I would say, like, on the other side, if you're a person that may not be feeling those types of things, a person that does have a good circle around them, does, have a sense of hope, does have a sense of happiness, part of what you can do is you can reach out to somebody who may not have that. Like I know we're talking about, as a person who is feeling those things, to reach out and get help. But someone who may not be feeling those things, reach out and help someone else. Like I think that's just as important in this conversation is that there are some people who, no matter what, just aren't gonna you know, get the help they need, say what's on their mind, or make that first move.
Yeah,
They might actually need somebody to reach out to them and pull them out.
yeah,
And I would say, as people, or to the people that kind of, I don't want to say have their life together because nobody has their life fully together, but to someone who can help somebody else out that may be facing that type of situation, just in the things you might notice about them, don't be afraid to, even if it's just a, how are you doing really? How are you doing really? Like just doing anything you can to help pull that person out of the place they're in and offer them any help that you can. I think is just as important as, somebody getting up and getting the help they need. It works in tandem, like so yeah, I just wanted to add that right on the end of that.
yeah. I
Yeah.
agree. And But Matt, like I said before, thank you for coming back as our guest. I appreciate the knowledge and gems that you always drop on us, man. I'm like, damn, this shit, we gotta get him back on there. So we definitely gonna get you back on here, man.
Man, I appreciate it, man. This was a great conversation. Again, very thankful for y'all to reach out to me again, man.
And thank you, man. With that being said, I go by the name of Steph Urkel. Drive safely out there, y'all. Be careful. And this has been another episode of Millennial Dungeon. Peace.
Yeah. Urkel.